What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex. In this video, I want to take a look at those CD Projekt Red statements. The Witcher Trilogy, of course, coming out in a 6-year time period. Now, we already knew this, so this isn't necessarily breaking news, but this is a doubling down on the strategy and a little bit of explanation, I guess, right? Kind of going more into the detail of like, well, how is this even possible? Now, I will say, okay, before we read the quote, this is ambitious. This is something that you don't see all that often. I would say Final Fantasy is maybe the closest thing that you're currently seeing, and technically it's not done, right? I mean, we have gotten 7 Remake, Rebirth, and probably the third game. We will have gotten that in a pretty short length of time, maybe 6-7 years, when all is said and done. Now, did it take them 6-7 years? No, it took them much, much longer, and a lot of that is kind of that pre-planning and getting it ready and getting the foundation, I guess, right, set up so you're able to do these games really, really quickly, or quicker than most of the gaming industry. So while it is possible, while we've kind of seen it, technically it's happened, I'm not going to ever assume, that it's something that's going to happen, even though technically they're saying it, right? They're just outright saying they want to give us the Witcher trilogy, the 4, 5, 6, in a 6-year time frame. That's incredible if they can nail that, and that's part of what I want to talk about in this video. I do struggle to, I guess, put that as an expectation to say, okay, well, now I'm going to expect that when The Witcher 4 comes out, then, start the clock, and within 6 years, you're going to get 2 and 3. And remember, that's how it has to work, right? Witcher 4 comes out, 27 or 28, and then you go probably 3 years later, and then 3 years later. So in that 6-year time frame, you've got the 3 games. Even though, they've been working on Witcher 4, I believe they say, for 4 years already. In all, it's going to take 10, 12 years to do these 3 games. But for us seeing it, technically it would be less, right? So let's read the entire quote. We've been using Unreal Engine 5 for The Witcher 4 for almost 4 years now, and we're very happy with what we've achieved. I think you could see some of that with your own eyes with our tech demo reveal at Unreal Fest a couple of months ago, and we're happy with the results of that as well. We've already said, but I'm always happy to say it again, and we're happy with how the engine is evolving through the Epic team's efforts and how we are learning how to make it work within a huge open world game as The Witcher 4 is meant to be. In a way, yes, I do believe that further games should be delivered in a shorter period of time. As we've stated before, our plan still is to launch the whole trilogy within a 6-year period. So yes, that would mean we would plan to have a shorter development time between The Witcher 4 and 5, and then between 5 and 6, and so on. And there's your big quote. You're having pretty much everyone under the sun talking about it. Here am I now talking about it. And I mean, again, it's super exciting. And I'll be honest with you, it's even more exciting, I think, to look at CD Projekt Red, because I've seen some kind of like mock year, analysis on social media. Because it's not just The Witcher, over a 6-year time frame, it's Witcher 4, 5, 6, but it's also CD Projekt Red. You got The Witcher remake, that's something that's still happening. You have, obviously, Cyberpunk is being built up, and being built up kind of like quite considerably, like almost half and half. It's not exactly, we've looked at the chart, it's getting close, but it's pretty darn close to, almost half the companies doing Witcher, half the companies doing the next Cyberpunk, or they are calling it, I believe, Cyberpunk 2. In that way, it would be insane, and I do get really excited. I mean, look, these are really popular games. These are generally very high quality games. Either they're high quality at launch or they're high quality later. And that's the thing, with Cyberpunk, I guess, right? Like Witcher 3 obviously is what Witcher 3 is. And Cyberpunk has become a behemoth, an unreal game, not to use the pun of like the engine, but, a game that's just obviously has impressed so many people over such a long period of time. But it's also, a needed time to go into itself, to build into itself. You probably don't want that to ever happen again, right? But, I think that is what excites me as a person. I love The Witcher, and I am very excited not to just get Witcher 4, but then also 5 and 6. But, I mean, here's the thing, too. I guess this is what I'm trying to get to, and I've struggled for a little to say it. Like, if you can have behemoths like CD Projekt, releasing games that are also behemoths, huge. And I don't mean, like, necessarily even sales, but I just mean, like, big games that are very, like, technologically advanced, things like that. If they're able to do this in 3-4 years, like, in between, I'm not saying they need to be the benchmark or that like everybody needs to follow them, but I think they are a pretty okay benchmark. And it's like, okay, well, if one of the biggest studios, maybe not necessarily in terms of actual manpower, but a very talented team and a team that's capable of, churning these things out. Now they have to have high quality, right? They can't suck. They have to, and they can't be Cyberpunk situations every time. We need to stop stop that, right? But I mean, if they can have games that come out that are just insanely good and they're able to crank these things out in 3 years, and 3 years like between that team, right? Because then you have other teams doing other things. That would be insane. And I would I would really, really hope that the industry kind of looks at that and says, okay, we need to figure out how to do that. And maybe these Final Fantasies of the world become more like possible, become like more companies are just doing it, right? Because at this point, how many do we have that have really done this, that have kind of almost built the infrastructure? I'm sure you guys could come up with a few. I'm sure I could if I stopped and shut up and thought about it, for a bit. But I'm sure there's a couple. But for the most part, like, companies don't really do this. They might set themselves up, but they might set themselves up for one game and then kind of pivot too fast or whatever, to have a company that can take a lot of time, dedicate it, but once they've got it figured out, they're able to crank these games out in like 3-4 years, which is probably the benchmark. That's probably where it needs to be, not 5, 6, 7, 8 years, right? Maybe to get to the first one, it's 5, 6, 7 years, but then after that, it's 3 or 4. And that is what I would like every other studio to kind of adopt, right? And maybe they just need to see more companies doing it. And I think, obviously CD Projekt would be a pretty freaking big one, to kind of follow suit. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure, as always, you're subscribed to the channel, bell icon turned on, and I hope to see you all on the next one.